Hello everyone and welcome back to Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Today I'm going to focus on articles about Lorne Greene. I'm going to start with this little snippet that I downloaded off the internet. It says, Lorne Greene tried to quit Bonanza after only 16 episodes. He wanted Ben Cartwright to do more than quote the Bible. Once his character evolved, Greene said he would have stuck with Bonanza for 100 years. Yes, he had found the character, the role of a lifetime when he found Ben Cartwright. So I went through a lot of articles about Lorne, and I've narrowed it down to 3, and I think these 3 articles kind of say it all. So I'm going to read them all in their entirety. Hopefully I can get through it quickly, but they're all really insightful. This is called The Patriarch of the Ponderosa. And I've got my glasses on. It says, a few months back, Lorne Greene, who has Bonanza's Ben Cartwright, is titular head of TV's most potent family dynasty, was making a personal appearance on an Ohio television station when the interviewer, a woman, asked young Mike Landon, Greene's traveling companion, who plays Little Joe Cartwright, how he regarded Ben Cartwright as a father. Landon quipped, "Oh, him? He's not so tough until you try to get the key to the horse on Saturday night." Okay, stop laughing. Lorne Greene is indeed the man with the key to the horse. At 46, he is perhaps the most exciting and certainly the most convincing father ever to appear in regular series TV. He is also, it might be added, parenthetically, a tremendous man with a dialect joke. As nearly every critic has agreed, Bonanza owes its particular appeal to the fact that it deals not in ruthless drifters of the traditional older school, but in the solid family ties inherent in a typical timber dynasty of the Old West. A spiritual center of this phenomenon is Greene, the man who proved that father does not necessarily have to be a pompous clown to find acceptance in the topsy-turvydom of commercial TV. Clearly, the resonant voice Greene, Billy Rose once called him the man with the built-in cello. That's perfect. His special qualifications for the role, but at first glance they are hard to calculate. He was the one-time Voice of Canada, chief newscaster for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and the founder of the Academy of Radio Arts in Toronto. He chucked all this for acting relatively late in his career. He decided to try series TV in a kind of desperate move to make his box office name, which was slight, match this luster of his Broadway acting reputation. Moreover, Greene, a Canadian, had no emotional hook to America, let alone the American frontier. In fact, he had never been on a horse except once as a boy, a Percheron. Well, we know that from the opening scenes of Bonanza, that he'd never been on a horse before. But kudos to him. That took guts, let me tell you. As for dynasties, he had none. Although his mother was one of 12 children, wow, he was an only child. That's interesting. His marriage to a Toronto non-professional in 1940 produced boy and girl twins, now 16, but otherwise ended in failure. He has never remarried. His father, far from being the timber king or cattle baron type, was a conscientious, soft-spoken, orthopedic bootmaker. Lorne himself was named not after anyone in his family, but after Daniel Greene's first customer, a man named Lorne Mackenzie. His mother called him Chaim, though. Lorne, I think, was his second name. His producer, David Dortort, observes, Lorne is a little old-fashioned in some of his attitudes. There is a kind of old-world charm and courtesy about him. He's a master storyteller and fabulous host. Now that he's, not that he's all caviar, there's plenty of meat and potatoes, too, but hardly the ranchero type. Greene snorts, ranchero. I was a little Ottawa boy who wanted to be a concert violinist. Interesting. Great article. The keys to the horses on Saturday. That's funny. Okay, I'm going to move on to this article here. Got it in plastic wrap. It's called My Sons the Actors. So he reflects on his boys, both on and off screen. Lorne Greene isn't sure who said it, but the TV star is in complete agreement with whoever authored the phrase, "It's a wise father that knows his own children." It was Shakespeare. It's taken Lorne Greene 4 years of playing daddy to the Bonanza Boys to get to know them well. In that time, the no-nonsense boss of the Ponderosa has formed some definite opinions about his TV children, Mike Landon, Dan Blocker, and Pernell Roberts. The husky monarch of the Mesa gained insight into his brood by acting, drinking, touring, and going into business with them. Lorne has a pleasant relationship going with all his lads, but doesn't hedge when it comes to sizing them up on and off camera. Here are his appraisals of his TV sons. Here we go. Mike Landon. Our Mike's a very sweet guy, but extremely stubborn. He shows a need of maturing. He's too impulsive. Mike will do a thing one day that he'll regret 8 days later. When it comes to a sense of humor, Mike has a terrific one. As an actor, Mike's developed with remarkable speed. When he first appeared on the show, he didn't have too much experience. What about his singing ability? Well, it has the wherewithal, but Mike isn't serious about that phase of his show business career. Oh, that's good. Okay, Dan Blocker. The big man is a non-stop practical joker. He's forever coming up behind someone and pinching them. Haas, a very bright man, is an exceptional storyteller. After a day's work, he'll start gabbing on the set, then move to a bar. When we steal a look at the clock, it's usually 2 or 3 in the morning. Oops. The one thing Haas definitely can't do is sing. As he himself says, I ain't got no rhythm. Haas isn't kidding either. Well, that being said, this album that they recorded sold over 1 million copies. There you go. What does he have to say about Pernell Roberts? Pernell is an extremely intelligent guy and a fine actor. He's also the best singer in our group. That's an understatement. Thanks to earlier vocal training, Pernell's a strange guy, though, in many ways. He's quite moody. Sometimes he'll refuse to say good morning to any of us. Hours later, he'll snap out of it. I like Pernell, and I sincerely hope he'll be with the show after this season. I know he wants to stay. Okay. As for Lorne himself, he's a sturdy 6'1.5", 205-pounder who enjoys nothing better than to boom out a sonorious tones how much he relishes portraying Ben Cartwright. I knew nothing about cowboys until I took this role, he says. I couldn't ride a horse. I couldn't fire a gun. You might say I'm still the second slowest draw in the West. I wonder who the first one was. It annoys me the way many people tend to degrade the cowboy role in television. I consider it just as serious an acting endeavor as the one I did on Broadway some years ago in a straight dramatic play with Kathleen Cornell. The brown-eyed Western hero, now pushing 50, envisions a long life ahead for Bonanza. But Lorne, a native of Canada, isn't taking any chances. Currently, he is pursuing a singing career. I'm quite serious about it, and RCA is too. I've cut 2 albums, and third one is yet to be released. Yeah, he did great with his albums. And he, with Ringo, he actually bumped the Beatles off the charts. Number 1, he went, Ringo. This is the last article I'm going to show you. It's quite an interesting article because it is written by Michael Landon in conjunction with Jay Stuller. I'm going to try and get through it as quickly as possible because we're running out of time here. Unforgettable Lorne Greene. Framed by a woman trying to gain control of his Ponderosa ranch, Ben Cartwright is accused of murder. No sooner is he locked up than the sheriff has another problem on his hands. Cartwright's 3 sons have stormed into the jailhouse. Adam, the oldest, glares menacingly. The middle son, Massive Hoss, looks as if he's about to rip the cell bars loose with his bare hands. Little Joe, the feisty youngster, threatens, "We're going to find the real killer, even if we have to tear this whole town apart." Then a calm, deep voice sounds inside the cell. "Hold on, boys," Ben says with a look that compels them to step back instantly. "Find out everything you can, but stay out of trouble, you hear? One Cartwright in here is too many. One too many." It's so typical. Let me see where I go to next. This is page 57. This is page 58. Here we go. "Listen to your daddy, boys," the relieved sheriff says. From 1959 until 1973, we Cartwright boys did indeed listen to our father. So did millions of others who watched the television series Bonanza. One of the most popular shows ever, it was broadcast in more than 100 countries and is still seen in reruns. As the headstrong little Joe, I was often ordered to mind my manners, treat everyone with respect, and think before I acted. But so were Hoss and Adam, who was written out of the show. He wasn't written out of the show. We never found out what happened to him. As the gray-haired patriarch of the Ponderosa, Ben Cartwright showed a loyalty and love for his sons that made him a symbol of strong family values. Actors rarely share the precise qualities, be they villainous or heroes, of the characters whom they portray. But in this case, it's impossible to think of Ben Cartwright without thinking of Lorne Greene or vice versa. Lorne molded Cartwright out of his own experiences and personal beliefs. In his private life, this actor was every bit as generous, loving, and loyal. The fiction of Ben Cartwright and the reality of Lorne Greene are virtually one. Wow, that's amazing. At first, Ben Cartwright was to have been a Bible-quoting, fire and brimstone father who was more angry than loving. This went against Lorne's instincts. He and producer David Dortort transformed Ben Cartwright into the character we know and love. Lorne was soon making suggestions to round out his role and situations. One day at rehearsal, I casually popped my feet on the coffee table in the ranch house living room. Suddenly, Lorne's voice thundered, "Little Joe, get your feet off the table." I sheepishly complied. The incident said so much about the relationship between Ben and his youngest son that we used it in the show. There are websites. That was an ad lib. Joseph, get your feet off the table. There are websites called that. Joseph, get your feet off the table. He used it all the time. Fantastic. Born in Ottawa, February 12, 1915, Lorne Greene was the only child of Daniel and Dora Greene, Russian immigrants. Daniel was a soft-spoken I mentioned that before. When Lorne was a student at Ottawa's Lisgar Collegiate, he began skipping school and forging excuse notes. His father caught on and made an appointment for them to meet the principal's office. All that Lorne later remembered about the scene that followed was the look on his father's face. Disappointment and unspoken by shilling message, "Don't do it again." Ben Cartwright would use that look often, mostly on me, Mike says. He did use that look often. It was at Lisgar Collegiate at the age of 16 that Lorne first used his booming voice to move an audience. This time it was to laughter in a comedy about two deaf men who shout at each other, each thinking the other can hear. That would have been funny. The taste of the theater thrilled him. I'm just going to go on a little bit further here. His courses left little time for the university drama department. Then he moved on to Queen's University. Lorne acted at Queen's University Theater of New York. On and on here, I think I've mentioned before. So yes, fascinating insight into Mike and Lorne's relationship. I had no idea that get your feet off the table, Joseph, was an ad lib. That is a wonderful. I never knew that before. So that's my focus on Lorne Greene. I know I went a little bit long today, but I think it was worth it. We'll see you next time on Ponderosa North for the Love of Bonanza.